Buck Rogers reboot looks like it's back on track. Welcome to Sidetrack, your sci-fi TV and movie channel. So I did a video a few months ago about how we were looking at getting a Buck Rogers reboot, but that reboot was in danger because there was basically two warring parties wanting to do this project, and, well, one was going to sue the other. Well, that legal quagmire has been cleared up now, and Smokehouse Productions, in cooperation with Legendary Pictures, have now got a clear run at making the Buck Rogers movie. Smokehouse Productions is actually owned by George Clooney, so we could see Buck Rogers played by George, potentially, which is a really exciting thing, because actually I'm a big fan of George Clooney. I think he's got that cheeky glint that actually could really work as the character Buck Rogers. But what type of film will we actually get to see? Well, I don't think it's going to be a remake of the Glenn A. Larson project. I don't think we're going to see Tweaky or spaceships and aliens and things. I think we're looking at a project that's going to be more like the original comic book. Now, this is where the legal mess kind of came from. Philip Nolan wrote the original book, or the original novella, Armageddon 2419. His family, the family that owned the estate and owned that, was basically suing Smokehouse Productions to say, they actually issued a cease and desist order to say you can't do this, and they had their own project with another production agency. They were going to make theirs. That has now been dealt with, and they've said that no, actually the Buck Rogers is not technically owned by the Nolan family because, well, his character was named Anthony to begin with. The project that Smokehouse Productions is more based around the comic book that followed the novella rather than the novella itself, so they're going to be able to push forward with that. And the Nolan family basically don't have rights to the Buck Rogers name. But hey, you never know, we might get to see Anthony Rogers instead. Now, straight off, I think this is a terrible shame. I'd have loved to have seen something that was more closely related to the Glenn A. Larson version, because the Starfighter, or the Thunderfighter, however you want to call it, depending on which source you go through, was a great sci-fi ship, and I would love to see that fighter return. It's one of those ships that's really iconic. It's like doing Battlestar Galactica without the ships from there, or Star Trek without the Enterprise. It just wouldn't work, and, I really would have loved to have seen that. But we're not going to see that. The storyline we're going to see is far more related to the comic book, which is Buck Rogers goes down into a mine. There's some radioactive gas. Radiation back in the 50s could do anything. It was magic. I'm sure they'll have to change that part of the story because obviously it doesn't make any sense nowadays. But he then got frozen for 500 years and wakes up to have an America that has been destroyed following a war with Europe that weakened the American nation, and then gangs took over. In the comic books, Buck Rogers' character used his knowledge from fighting World War One and taught the American freedom fighters how to fight back against these gangs. This almost feels more like Mad Max, really, than Buck Rogers to me, because I grew up with the Jill Gerard and, the Glenn A. Larson version. But I still think it'd be an interesting project. My worry is that will it become a woke mess? Now, George Clooney does have certain political views. He is an advocate of LGBT rights, as he should be. People should be fighting for those. And I really think celebrities should use their power in the world for good, and he does. George Clooney does do that. He is also a big advocate against anti-war and human rights. To be honest, the Buck Rogers, as from the original comic books, reeks of an opportunity for George to push his ideology, his political ideology, onto the big screen. Now, I actually think sci-fi at its best is woke. I think it should be an opportunity there should be layers to these projects where we actually learn something, that it reflects the culture of the day. It, should come away from it with a lesson. It should be about people wanting to do better and, highlighting when things are bad. Star Trek from the 60s really hammered home that racism was not a good idea at a time where race in the United States was an epidemic. You could argue it still is. So I don't have a problem with this being woke. I'm just a little bit concerned that George might go too far with it. And I do agree with people when they come, on my channel sometimes, and they say, "Oh, this is woke, this is woke." Sometimes I disagree with them. Sometimes I say, "No, come on, it's just woke isn't a bad thing." But sometimes when it's shoved down your throat, when it actually overtakes and becomes more important than the story, then I would completely agree with the people that say, "I don't want this. I would rather have something that was a little more subtle." So let's see what happens. But the exciting part of this is that Buck Rogers will be on the silver screen very shortly. George Clooney will 100% be executive producing, and let's see if he's brave enough to actually get in front of the camera himself, which, let's be honest, he probably is. So, I apologise about my voice. I've got a bit of a head cold. But if you are new to the channel, please ignore that. Like and subscribe, hit the bell notification. It really helps the channel out. You can also consider becoming a fully fledged sci-trekker. Consider hitting the join button. There's also merchandise, loads of different t-shirts and things available at scitrek.com. There's a link in the description. All of these little things, they really help support the channel and help me to keep going. So, as always, please stay safe, and I'll see you next time.